So, Flyers lose 5-2 to Boston. Look, there was a handful of good things in this game. The Drew Brassard Atkinson line was probably the most positive thing out of this. Besides that, it's kind of getting old. The fact that you're still starting slow into games, you're giving up a lot of shots in tight. Your power play just looks absolutely so out of sync. It's not even funny. You can't keep relying on your goaltenders. And I'm not going to apologize for good goaltending when they get it, but you can't keep relying on Jones and Hart to keep you in games. This is the last Saturday you played Dallas. They were coming off a pretty good chunk of days of rest, closed door, team meeting, players only, and all that jazz. They win that game 5-2. Boston's coming off a game where their last game was last Sunday. Basically hasn't played one game in a week, and you lose this game 5-2. The Flyers they haven't had necessarily the best schedule, and other teams have come in pretty well rested, and that obviously isn't helping them because these teams have more energy, more legs, things like that, and it's definitely getting to them when they're playing. Dallas was 3 games in 4 nights. This game was three home games, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So again, I'm not blaming the schedule or anything. I'm just basically saying that the other teams have kind of had more of an advantage coming into the game when you have all those days off. I didn't like the lines before this. I didn't like the lines for the last game against Tampa Bay. I wanted them to switch them up. And the fact that there's barely been any switches mid-game when your team is still struggling to score and you've scored 3 goals one time since November 2nd against Arizona, it is a problem. And the Farabee, Couturier, JVR line, they don't look like they're in sync anymore. I don't know what the problem is. On paper, the lines look better on paper, but they're just not doing anything offensively. The team needs a spark. I thought this was one of Brassard's best games as a Flyer. I thought Giroux had a good game as well. The defense is the same, just Jones and net. And look, the first period was back and forth. I mean, there were some chances from both teams. Flyers kind of took a while to get going, though, and actually have some zone. They need more offensive zone time. Like, they need more sustained play in the zone, and where everything isn't to the outside. You don't. It just gets old watching the same defenseman like pinch into the zone, and then like they either lose, whoever the forward is loses the puck, or they end up losing the battle, and they just can't get anything out of it. They need more zone time, and they're not getting it. And there's just certain things that are trending from this team are trending because you don't have a second line center. You're missing a couple of your wingers, and you also don't have one of your better defensemen that help on breakouts and things like that. It's an issue when you're constantly having to rely on certain guys that aren't necessarily supposed to play that position. And then you also are having guys that are just very unlucky or just struggling or just cannot do anything offensively consistently. Joel Farabee has not looked good in, I can't tell you how long. I mean, he just looks so off. Couturier's looked off for probably this whole month, if I'm being honest with you. Lindblom's had his chances. Lawton's looked okay. Konechny has had his moments, but the team needs a spark, and I don't know what it's going to be. What can it bring? Is it Morgan Frost? I don't know. I don't necessarily see how you rely on a 22-year-old with 20 games under his belt in the NHL to bring you an offensive spark. Now, it can certainly help you in the fact of maybe play driving, but then again, can you really rely on Frost to do that? I'm not sure. Is it something that I think the Flyers can take a look at, and do I think Frost is ready? Yes. I do think Morgan Frost is ready. He's looked really good in the AHL in the last handful of games. He has 12 points in his last 9 games for the Phantoms. And if I'm Chuck Fletcher and I'm the Flyers, you have a couple days off here. You don't play again until Tuesday. And you have Tampa Bay on Tuesday, Florida on Wednesday. I think the Flyers really do need to try to do something with these lines. I mean, again, you have a couple days off, and I'm just looking at the standings here. As of right now, the Flyers are in fourth place in the division, tied with New Jersey with 19 points apiece. Flyers and Devils have the same record, and the Rangers, with one more game played, are 4 points ahead of the Flyers. They're 10-4-3. And again, it just does not. It doesn't get easier for the Flyers. Again, this month, I've talked about this before, and you got, as I said, Tampa Tuesday, Florida, Carolina, New Jersey, and then the Islanders to end the month. So if you can, try to get a couple wins here in the next handful of games. You've played some of these teams before. You beat Carolina. You had a pretty good game against Tampa, and Florida was a tight game as well. These are winnable games for this team, but that's the thing. They need a spark. I mean, if you're going into the second period, you battle back, you tie the game, you actually get a power play goal, which had Chris passing, and the thing is with the power play is you have a power play unit. The first power play unit doesn't have an identity. It's like one shift you have Giroux on the right, the next game you have Giroux on the left. You have Provorov one way, Brassard, Atkinson, whoever. It switches every game. And it's a problem when you actually have something that is generating you momentum early in the season, and then you just change it out of nowhere. And your second unit was actually doing something. The first unit was generating chances, getting momentum for the team. And the second unit was scoring the goals. I mean, that's what was happening in the earlier games of the season. And now it's like both units have absolutely no idea what they're doing. And I really don't understand it. I mean, the second unit, every player is left-handed. Like, you don't get any opposite shots for a one-timer. You can't even go that route. Giroux on the right does nothing for him specifically. I mean, you have literally the number one player in power play points since 2011-12 on your team to run a power play, and they don't run it through him. It's a systems issue. It's not the talent on this team. It's not the guys who can't score. It's none of that. It is a systems issue, and I can't say anything else about it. I mean, it's a problem, and they need to do something with it. Hopefully, tonight's game is a spark for it. But in the third, you give up. The Bruins' third and fourth goal from Forbett and Smith were just not good defensive plays by the Flyers. Sealer gave Forbett way too much time to shoot that puck. I feel like there was no need for Sealer to wait back as long as he did and just kind of play that real hesitantly. He had all that room. I mean, you can't let him sit back and just pick a spot like that. And then 4-2, yes, Jones was deep in his net, but Sanheim didn't play that great. So that was kind of a combination of both things. Obviously, every goalie wants a goal back, but that definitely is one Jones definitely wants back, and they get a goal early in the third, and the Flyers look to get a power play, and then they call arguably one of the worst calls this season that I've seen in any of the Flyers games on Giroux for a delay of game where they said he knocked the puck out of the ref's hand, but it was Bergeron just because the puck went back into the zone. First of all, why is the center ice referee making that call to begin with? And how can you even see that from center ice when the ref right in front of you? He should have been able to know who knocked it out of his hand. I mean, it's not that hard. If the puck was in your hand, legitimately you're holding it, it really can't be that hard to tell who knocked it out. And the other ref who dropped the puck should have said, "Oh yeah, it was Bergeron," and it should have been a 5-on-3 is what it should have been. But no, 4-on-4. Bruins go down and score 5-2, and it just had the feeling that it was going to be like that because the Brassard line drew the penalty. They had a couple, good shifts where they were able to get some momentum, but the Flyers didn't really do anything in the third. They didn't have really any shots. They had 2 shots in the first 9 minutes of the period, and it's a problem when you're just struggling to get any sort of offensive chance in the third when you're down, and it's another game where you have to go into the third period and you have to say win the period, win the game. I feel like I'm saying this way too much because they had a pretty good second period where they're able to bounce back and tie it, and then the Bruins would get the goal from Forbett, and that was it. So it's frustrating when a team like this that on paper has a very good offense and is able to score in really any area, and they just don't have a spark right now, and they need it. And if Kevin Hayes is out long term, which I really hope he isn't, but I have a gut feeling that he is. I seriously think they're going to have to do something trade-wise to bring in another center in here. But that's a different topic for a different day because we don't even know what's going to happen there. So let me know your guys' thoughts below. Remember, guys, podcast articles, those links are on my channel. Remember to check out Garrett Group Construction. Check out all their stuff there. And I will talk to you all again soon.